Pedro Sanchez wants to take 5 weeks of vacation this year. He has never done it for so long. Starting from July 28, which would be the last Council of Ministers, who knows how long after that. No Prime Minister has ever taken 5 weeks of vacation. According to our information, Judge Peinado received information that during those weeks, government planes and resources would be used, possibly so that Begoña Gómez could flee Spain, not return to this country, and not face the very serious accusations for multiple crimes she is being charged with.
There have long been suspicions that she holds another nationality and possibly another passport. And another detail is that when the court orders these measures, it also decides, among other things, to notify both civilian and military airports of the ban on leaving the national territory. It basically closes off any possibility of escape. Why is that done? Because there really is a suspicion. Is there any of them? Of the people watching us, is there anyone who doubts that this lady could escape in the Pokémon?
The government that is Sanchez is changing our electorate, the number of people with the power to decide who governs. That is, instead of people choosing their government, the government that is Sanchez is choosing its people, the people who will vote for him. This is extremely serious, sneaky, and what's more, he's doing it little by little. Since he came to power in 2018, he has already nationalized 1,400,000 foreigners, giving them Spanish citizenship, and they now have the right to have a say over Spain.
I'm going to lose one homeland, and I'm not going to lose the second homeland that has given me the opportunity to be a citizen of this kingdom. I won't lose it, and I'll fight tooth and nail. That's why I remain so confident, despite the dark clouds and everything, that this is gonna get back on track. We never imagined we would see Zapatero sitting in the dock. We're going to see all of them, and they're all going to pay.
The number of people who write to me, the number of people who stop me on the street, who have stopped me on the bus, in the supermarket, everywhere, and they say to me, "But dear, how can you be so brave?" Because I think the same as you, but I don't dare to say it. And of course I say, well, it makes me really sad that in 2026 we might be saying, I'm afraid to speak in my own country.
Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillon.
Welcome. How are you, confidentials? Thank you for being there. Strength, honor, and let's get to the information because we have a lot to tell you. How dare Judge Peinado treat Begoña Gómez like any other Spaniard? How can he not protect her when she's part of that untouchable caste of socialists and Sanchez relatives? How could he possibly ask her to go to court every 15 days to sign in and have her passport taken away? But who does Judge Peinado think he is, right? That's what Sanchez thinks. They're a separate caste, nothing to do with you or me. No. They're untouchable. That's why they've made all the changes in the judiciary, the prosecutor's office, the state legal service, and the constitutional court, so that nothing and no one can touch them while they commit crimes. And if it's the wife of the number one, she's even more untouchable. Judge Peinado has committed the worst of his sins, believing that Begoña Gómez is human, a citizen just like you and me. You and I would be taken straight to pretrial detention if we committed half the crimes she has committed, but she wouldn't. She is untouchable, and the whole government and its media outlets have rushed out to support her. It's very sad to see how the Sanchez-aligned socialist justice system has one kind of justice for those who are part of the family and the party, and a very different one for the rest of Spaniards. We've known for a while that this isn't a democracy, but we weren't aware that the dictatorship was already here. And yes, it's already established and settled. The controversy in Judge Peinado's order is that it considers Begoña Gómez's bodyguards could help her escape. either on their own initiative or under orders from above, the judge says verbatim. Those agents at a given moment may, either on their own initiative or following orders from higher-ranking superiors, be the ones who collaborate in the action, or actions carried out to facilitate the escape, making it impossible for the accused to remain available to the court. This has made them nervous. Why? Because there was a plan. There was a plan, and Judge Peinado found out about it. I know that now the General Counsel of the Judiciary will cast doubt on Judge Peinado, that they will keep trying to take him down. But according to our information, there was a plan. Judge Peinado was aware of that possibility and has prevented the possible escape of Begoña Gómez. Why? In the coming months or weeks. Look, Pedro Sanchez wants to go on vacation for 5 weeks this year. He has never taken that much vacation. Starting from July 28, which would be the last Council of Ministers, who knows for how long. No Prime Minister has ever gone on vacation for 5 weeks. According to our information, Judge Peinado received information that during those weeks, government planes and resources would be used, possibly so that Begoña Gómez could flee Spain, not return to this country, and not face the very serious accusations for multiple crimes she is being charged with. Begoña Gómez faces up to 15 years in prison for influence peddling, business corruption in the private sector, embezzlement, and misappropriation. And she is not willing to spend even a single day. She knows that a trial before a jury, that is, with ordinary people judging her, means a sure guilty verdict. It's curious. Sanchez doesn't want judges because of lawfare, but he's also afraid of the people because they would condemn him too. And don't forget that this goes way back. Begoña Gómez refused to hand over her passport to Judge Peinado several times, to the point that the judge asked the police to go to Moncloa to collect it. Something unprecedented. She has not appeared in response to several summonses from Judge Peinado. She has always refused to cooperate with Judge Peinado from the very beginning. And in the last session, the one a week ago, Begoña Gómez and Judge Peinado stared intensely into each other's eyes with tremendous hatred, especially on her part. Don't forget one detail. At the end of that day, Judge Peinado went home by bus while Begoña Gómez left with 2 bodyguards and an official car. Are the bodyguards, in this case Begoña Gómez's, a danger when it comes to facilitating her escape or not? We asked Alfredo Perdiguero, a police inspector, a few days ago. He said this:
the person can stop having bodyguard protection for as long as is appropriate. In other words, the security team is ready to protect that person. If he says, I don't need it tomorrow because I'm going out alone, the bodyguards don't use force against the person they're protecting, just so you understand. In other words, we follow what the person in question decides when it comes to protection. If the person doesn't want protection because he's going to a brothel and doesn't want us there, he just dismisses us, that's it. You have the case of Mrs. Begoña Gómez, as you mentioned at the beginning, where she dismissed her security detail while she was at that bar, and then coincidentally, 3 out of the 4 bodyguards were later dismissed. Was it because they didn't do their job well with that woman? I mean, we are always the weakest link. The chain always breaks at the weakest link, and in the end, we are always the ones who pay the price.
That's right. Begoña Gómez can say that on that day, she doesn't need her security detail that day, catch a plane and leave the country. Or the chiefs of the National Police and the Civil Guard, who are loyal to Sanchez and obedient to Marlaska, can turn a blind eye. There's nothing strange about what Judge Peinado is saying. It's probably what could happen. And one more thing. On this show, we've repeated countless times that Begoña Gómez has taken the government's Falcon, or private planes to make trips without an official agenda, for example, to the Dominican Republic. The UCO acknowledges one trip to the Dominican Republic for a business conference. But there are many more, and through the transparency portal, they don't give any explanation to the press about why they flew to the Dominican Republic 63 times on government falcons using a diplomatic passport without going through customs checks. And don't forget something else. Pedro Sanchez has used private jets chartered through a private company called Gestair. According to the UCO, on multiple occasions, those planes have been used by Pedro Sanchez and his inner circle. Coldo Garcia used them. Jose Luis Avalos did too. The UCO has found invoices for those luxury jets. Why do they need to hire a private plane if they have the government's falcons? Maybe to avoid what Judge Peinado was talking about, to avoid having the bodyguards present while a crime is being committed. And something else. Don't forget that the Judge Peinado makes it clear in his ruling that the measure of withdrawing the passport and appearing before the judge every 15 days is extended. How many passports could he grant? Here the judge is playing it safe. Because yes, there are many of us who believe, and we said it here exclusively, that Begoña Gómez had a Dominican passport. And she obtained dual Dominican and Spanish nationality a few months ago. Also, Judge Peinado adds, this applies to any passport Begoña Gómez may hold, whether ordinary or diplomatic, and she is expressly forbidden from obtaining a new one. If Begoña Gómez has a Dominican passport, she should hand it in today just like the Spanish one. And don't forget that there's a reason for not handing over the passport. Begoña Gómez has refused to do so for 3 years. And the reason is the stamps. Although it's true that a diplomatic passport doesn't go through security checks, nor is the diplomatic pouch monitored by the police. They do stamp the passport when entering and leaving the country. Therefore, Begoña Gómez's diplomatic passport has the stamps and dates for every time she entered and left anywhere, possibly from the Dominican Republic. And that's what Sanchez's wife has been trying to avoid since day one. The last time Sanchez's beloved Begoña Gómez was charged, he spent 5 days reflecting. He said, in the meantime, he set up a network of extortion, threats, and bribes to judges, prosecutors, civil guards, police officers, and journalists, and she was only under formal investigation. What will he do now that he knows she's going to face a trial, that she's going to be convicted, and that her passport has been taken away? Gentlemen, we must protect ourselves and put an end to the dictator who controls Spain by using all the levers of the state in his favor. It's not enough to look the other way or to share his opinion. Sanchez's accomplices are everywhere, and we need to start pointing them out. Another Spain is possible. We're close to achieving it, but we'll all have to push together to make it a reality. We have a first guest who brings insider information about what we're telling you. Welcome, we investigate.
Thank you. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell.
Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillo.
Gentlemen, getting Begoña Gómez charged and brought to trial has not been easy, and even less so the withdrawal of her passport and the requirement to appear before a judge every 15 days. There are citizen-led prosecutors who have represented us Spaniards. Unfortunately, what the prosecutor's office should do, which it never does, they have done. We must not forget any of them, all of them. And on their behalf, Javier Perez Roldan. Hazte oír, congratulations, congratulations.
Thank you and good morning.
It hasn't been easy to get here, has it?
Well, it hasn't been easy because it's been a very long investigation because the defense attorneys, Begoña Gómez's lawyer, Cristina Alvarez's lawyer, Barrabes's lawyer, have all appealed, and so has the prosecutor. Absolutely every decision, all of them, every single one. And it's not normal in a case, in an investigation, for absolutely everything to be appealed. Well, they haven't left anything unchallenged, and of course that has delayed the process a lot.
The controversy is with Judge Peinado. The General Counsel of the Judiciary will probably give them a scolding in the next few hours. There's no need to even mention what the government has gone so far as to say to him. And all of this because they say he implies that Begoña Gómez's bodyguards could help her escape. How do you see it, Counsel?
Let's see. The judge hasn't just made something up. Judges can't order a precautionary measure, like in this case, taking away someone's passport unless someone requests it. Here, we, the popular prosecution, requested it. We requested it because we believe the requirements were met and the judge agreed. What does the judge say in the order? What the judge states in the order is simply put that precisely because she has bodyguards, and this argument about the bodyguards was brought up by Begoña Gómez's lawyer to defend against that precautionary measure. He basically said that she couldn't flee because she was constantly surrounded by bodyguards and police officers. What is the judge basically saying? What the judge is basically saying is that precisely because she has police officers and bodyguards, if there is no explicit prohibition against leaving the country, she can do so at any time. And the police also need to ensure she gets to the airport. He doesn't actually say this, correct? But that's what, in the context of what he's saying, they have to make sure she gets to the airport. That's exactly why they have vehicles. With enough bodyguards so that there are no problems, they have to control the security of the flights. That's what he's saying. And it makes sense because Puigdemont, for example, escaped and had bodyguards. Maybe the judge, maybe in the way he expressed it, you have to keep in mind that the ruling is 84 pages long and he has to write it in 3 days and summarize the whole procedure. That takes time. The judge, using an expression, basically says that, of course, the police could make it easier for him to escape. In the context in which he says it, he doesn't say that the police would actually help him escape. He says that what could make it easier for him is leaving the country if there is no prohibition. So in the context in which he says it is absolutely, completely correct. Yes, there's no doubt about it.
We've heard that there has been a rumor. I'm asking you if you've heard anything about it. Sanchez and Begoña Gómez are taking 5 weeks of vacation starting July 28 after the last cabinet meeting. Never, no prime minister has ever taken so many. Some people say that those long vacations were going to be used for a possible escape. And that rumor, that information could have reached Judge Peinado, and that's where this decision came from. Do you know anything about that?
Those rumors exist. Just like there's also the rumor about whether Sanchez will call early elections or not. To me, they're just rumors, and I'll tell you why. That's my opinion. They're nothing more than rumors because Sanchez is a very cautious person, and right now, he doesn't trust anyone. So he's not going to reveal his intentions to anyone, not about calling early elections, nor about maybe using a vacation to disappear. He's not going to give any advance notice. But the rumor keeps going around and around Madrid in all kinds of circles, even among serious people who normally don't gossip without reason. Yes, it's definitely out there. And besides, we were the ones seeking that measure. We asked for it with a clear purpose, and that was to prevent that escape. Why? Because now this procedure has to be brought before the provincial court, and nobody knows if Sanchez might stop being president at any moment because he could call urgent elections, and nobody knows what kind of relationship Begoña might have with him. We've seen that Zapatero, for example, had a lot of cash and jewelry, and he's being investigated. So why wouldn't Begoña Gómez try to escape, for example? In the procedure, during the hearing specifically, I was the one in charge as counsel for the Unified Popular Prosecution. I was the one responsible for presenting our request. And I made it very clear that Benito Crassi, who was also from the Socialist International because he was the boss. Let's put it this way. The General Secretary of the Italian Socialist Party fled because of a corruption case and died in Tunisia. Why couldn't the same happen with the wife of the current prime minister?
Never, remind me, Counselor, never has Begoña Gómez cooperated with the courts. She has not testified to clarify things. She hasn't made Judge Peinado's job any easier. She didn't want to voluntarily hand over her passport. In other words, there are plenty of reasons for the judge to say that's enough, right?
Man, her lack of cooperation is obvious. From the very beginning, she and the government sycophants have insisted that there was absolutely nothing at all. The way to prove it was through her statements, to show that it was all a misunderstanding, that there was never any irregularity. However, she refused to answer the judge's questions and the questions from the popular prosecution. And then, when the judge, at the request of this prosecution specifically, asked for her passport, she also refused to provide it. What is expected? When the investigation has already been closed, the provincial court has been saying that there are signs of a crime. The case goes to trial where she is facing more than 20 years in prison for various crimes. Prison isn't required for her, but they're seeking 24 years due to the crimes. Do we think there's no risk that she might flee? Why? Because they say she's a woman known by everyone. Someone known by everyone could be Pedro Sanchez, could be Zapatero, Begoña Gómez. We know her in Spain. Outside of Spain, I don't think she's that well known or recognizable. But also, if she goes to a country where there is no extradition agreement, what does it matter to us whether she's recognized or not? The point is she won't come back.
In fact, the judge adds that the measures extend to any passports they might have or to any of the nationalities they belong to. He's saying that if what we exclusively reported here is true, and our information is that, yes, she did get Dominican nationality, then she should hand over that passport to the judge as well. When would she have to do it, Begoña? Ms. Gomez, today, Monday.
She needs to do it as soon as possible. This order was notified on Saturday, so they have to require her now. It will be sometime today or tomorrow, so that she brings the passport, any passport she has, to the court. And in fact, there have been suspicions for a long time that she has another nationality and therefore may have another passport. And another detail, when the court orders these measures, among other things, it also notifies both civil and military airports of the prohibition on leaving the national territory. It basically closes off any possibility of flight. Why is that done? Because there really is a suspicion. Is there anyone watching us who doubts that this lady could flee at any moment? A judge has to ensure that if someone is convicted, the convicted person is available to the justice system to carry out the sentence. And that's what he's doing. There's no need to be so shocked. That's what is done every day in a huge number of cases. Just because she's the wife of the prime minister doesn't mean she should be treated any differently.
Well, maybe that's the point. I think Don Javier has hit the nail on the head again. They are different. I'm hearing messages from members of the government saying, how can you do that to the wife of a president? As if to say justice is for the rabble. For us, because we're a caste, the same law can't be applied to us. I get the feeling that you and I are common people, and they're on another level, right?
Of course, that's what really comes through. They want to be treated differently when they should be treated the same as everyone else. But it's more than that. Being the wife of the prime minister actually gives you more chances to escape. Because if you or I run away, the government of the country we go to has no reason to support us or look the other way. But when we're talking about the wife of a prime minister who therefore has numerous international relationships, numerous commitments, who may have done favors for some leaders and others, it's logical that she might be treated in a more special way and could be protected. I'll mention one detail, just one detail, and I don't mean to judge a country for this. I had a client who disappeared, just vanished. And he went to Argentina. And in Argentina, it was impossible to notify him of anything. Why? Because he was friends with the governor of the province where he went to live. Whenever something came from the Spanish courts, the governor simply put it in a drawer. And so there was absolutely no way to do anything. And this is a fact. That governor has passed away, and so has that client of mine. But this happened. It happened. And it happens like that in many countries. And besides, my client wasn't being sought for a case I was handling, but for another case that had nothing to do with me, and he decided to do that. Well, if someone is friends with politicians, with the top leaders of a country, then logically his wife can be protected, and the court order doesn't mention anything about this. But it's a reality we can't deny.
Lawyer, and if she doesn't hand over the passport, which wouldn't be the first time, if Begoña Gómez refuses to hand over the passport or passports to Judge Peinado, then what?
She could do it, since I can always say, and it might be true, though I doubt it, that I've lost them. Even if she doesn't give up the passports, it's clear she can't leave, Because now, with a court order in place, the police have to prevent her from leaving because until now, the police, without without committing any crime, if she wanted to leave, the police couldn't stop her. Her bodyguards couldn't stop her. But now, especially with how public this issue is, if she tried to leave, whether or not she's carrying her passport, she can't do it because all the alarms go off at the border. So logically, she will have to change her lifestyle now. She'll have to spend her vacations in Torna de Mallorca or in the Canary Islands if she wants to visit an island. And if not, if she doesn't want an island, there are so many places from Avila, Segovia, if she doesn't want the sea, to Santander, if she wants the sea. Cadiz, Spain has everything.
It's curious that the Sanchez's media outlets raise a fuss when things are hidden from us. Information about 63 Falcon flights to the Dominican Republic from that private charter company Gestair that Sanchez uses. And what about the PSOE? In other words, Coldo, Avalos, Sanchez, and Begoña have been traveling to countless places without giving any answers, using diplomatic passports, and now that we take it away from them, they raise a fuss. I'm hearing all sorts of things in the pro-Sanchez media that scare me. You've heard it too, haven't you?
Of course I've heard it, and that's the secret behind everything that's happening. They think that lying, hiding, and covering things up has no consequences, but in the end, these are the consequences. If Begoña Gómez, being suspected of having committed certain crimes, I'm just saying suspected, had perhaps had a more cooperative attitude. If all of us Spaniards hadn't found out that there have been trips we don't know where to or for what reasons or how they were made, if the government, and therefore her husband and herself, hadn't been constantly lying, maybe there wouldn't be that appearance of flight risk. It's just that we, the private prosecutors, have requested it because we had the moral certainty that it could happen that she might flee. If they had acted differently, we might not have had that moral certainty. As I said, we could be wrong. It's just moral certainty. I'm not saying she plans to flee. We wouldn't have had that certainty or requested it. Also, the judge can't order it on his own without a request. Because here the focus is being put on the judge, as if the judge did whatever he wanted and just pulled the idea of taking away her passport out of thin air. No, that's not how it is. It's that one party requested it, and the judge has to decide whether those who requested it, in this case the accusers, had a legitimate case or not. He decided yes, that this measure appears to be justified. That's it. He has fulfilled his duty, which is to resolve what one of the parties brings before him. That's all there is to it.
Well, and it took 2 years because they requested the withdrawal in 2024. Therefore, Judge Peinado has been more than prudent, hasn't he?
Well, he waited until the investigation was finished and saw that, in principle, the indications of criminal conduct were serious. He could have ordered it from the very beginning if this had been lawfare, if he had some kind of personal grudge against Begoña Gómez, and not at just any time. I mean, not at the beginning. At any time during these 2 years. He could have even ordered it on his own initiative at some point. Well, he didn't do it. He did it at the end. Why? Because we filed the indictment, now he's facing 24 years in prison, and it's reasonable to think he might flee. But if he didn't want to flee, I think, I'm going to make a kind of hypothesis. If he didn't want to flee, why all this trouble with the passport? Because, be careful, across all the pro-Sanchez mouthpieces, they're not talking about him having to go every 15 days to sign in to make a statement at the court in his place of residence. They don't mention that. It's like, well, that doesn't seem to bother them. Their only concern is the passport. They're determined to make sure he can travel. Why are they so determined about that if we've seen that in many of Pedro Sanchez's official trips, Begoña Gómez hasn't even accompanied him? As we've seen, Begoña Gómez has traveled abroad many times without Pedro Sanchez. All this pressure doesn't make sense.
The next few hours are crucial. All our support to Judge Peinado, to democracy in this country, to the rule of law, and we believe in it a little more. And it's not thanks to the government, but thanks to you, to the private citizen prosecutors. Congratulations, Javier Maria Perez Roldan. Keep fighting on the front lines. We are winning the battle for the truth. A hug.
That's unbelievable. And thank you so much to you, because thanks to the free media, people find out about all these things. And simply, since it's early in the morning, I just hope the General Counsel of the Judiciary stands firm and does not give in to the government's pressure, because that's when everything would be lost. If the judges are unable to defend judicial independence, everything would be lost.
I hope so. Message to the General Counsel. Let's see if we can make it. Best regards, Javier.
Thank you. See you later. Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillon.
I lost my job and I could only rely on credit cards and loans to get by until I lost my house, I lost my family, and even then I still couldn't get rid of my debts.
If you are in a situation of insolvency, contact us and we will tell you if you meet the requirements of the Second Chance Law. Sin Deuda Group, your second chance.
Welcome to the world of Vichy Catalan, where authenticity and health go hand in hand. Here, we know how to have fun and take care of ourselves. A place to make every moment one of a kind and savor it to the fullest. We're waiting for you at the home of sparkling water, Vichy Catalan.
And if you'll allow me, this image you see is of someone I met on a TV set, Ahmed Tomouchi. Welcome to Vichy. Ahmed Tomouchi is Maghrebi, while he was in jail despite being innocent. In Spain, yes, those things happen in Spain. The Supreme Court this week found that a mistake had been made and asked to compensate the family with 2.5 million euros. 2.5 million that he, welcome to the family with 2.5 million euros, 2.5 million that he could no longer benefit from because he died a few years ago. The story has been told incorrectly. I knew him and how to take care of each other. To turn it into savoring it intensely. I met him, I met his daughter, they came to the TV studio where I worked, and we fought to have his situation recognized. It's very simple. To the Catalan studio where I worked, and we fought to have his situation recognized. It's very simple. He and a fellow instructor where I worked used to rape 2 young girls aged 14 and 15. The minors really took care of us. Savor it in the Vichy Catalan. The family asked, and the lawyers, for them to be tested for... Welcome to Catalan, the healthy thing, the underwear of the minors. That DNA test was never done. How to enjoy and to convert intensely. That DNA test was never done. They thought the identification was enough. They put him in prison. And this is the welcome to Catalan, where what's authentic is healthy, how to enjoy and how to take care of ourselves. Welcome to what's healthy. Welcome to Vichy Catalan. Welcome to Catalan, authentic and healthy by hand. How to enjoy and how to take care of ourselves. Welcome, authentic, how to enjoy in the Catalan world, authentic and healthy. Go Catalan, we're here, thank you. Who didn't do the DNA test and kept an innocent man in prison for 18 years, which cost us 2.5 million. Do you know who it is? Margarita Robles, the minister. She was in Barcelona. This happened in Barcelona. The press has explained this man's story, and has published the 2.5 million in compensation to the family, but not a single outlet. It says that Margarita Robles is the one who messed up. She's the one to blame. She's the one who should be in jail, possibly for having deprived someone of their freedom for 18 years. They cloak themselves in progressivism and point at those of us who criticize uncontrolled immigration. She's the one responsible for engaging in trial by media and racial bias to put someone in jail simply based on an identification without wanting to do a DNA test. Well, gentlemen, by the way, the real rapist turned out to be Spanish. He was released from prison in 2013 because of the Paro Doctrine. Let me greet Saide Chalinchon. You're in Barcelona. I'm sure you've crossed paths with Margarita Robles at some point. It happened to me when she was a judge in that city.
Well, the truth is I haven't had the chance. Greetings to our friends from Castellón Confidencial. I haven't had the chance to cross paths with this woman, But this message you just gave, I think it's a message that makes things clear. In case someone wants to accuse us, because sometimes they accuse us of being fascists and racists and of persecuting immigrants and all that stuff, which isn't true. This is a story you're telling me, and it has left an impression on me. I'm really surprised, by how a person can suddenly find themselves in such a complicated situation. And right now, even if they were paid all the money in the world, no one is going to give that family back all the suffering or the loss of their loved one or anything like that. Unfortunately, those things happen, and you have to be very careful, especially in these times we're living in now.
That's right. When I met this man, he was already a deranged man. He had already spent 12 or 14 years in prison. He was no longer a normal human being you could have a conversation with. His daughter, though, she was charming. And I'm glad they're getting some support because they went through a terrible time. They didn't have a penny. And on top of that, people pointed at them in the street. Well, you can imagine. Speaking of the progressives, here, gentlemen, what we like is the truth. Rosa has sent me a message. I'm going to clear it up right now. Listen.
I wanted you, if you can, to talk about what's happening in the United Kingdom because it's a very serious matter. The latest thing that happened is that some parents with a little 3-year-old boy went to the zoo and a horrible person grabbed him from behind and threw him into the crocodile pit. The boy, thank God, is alive, but unfortunately he's in critical condition and it's not being reported on any news program. I'm saying this because it's a very serious matter due to everything that's coming into Spain. We don't know who these people are. This could happen here. Yeah.
Look, there are immigrants entering through the Spanish border every day without any psychiatric evaluation. That's true, but the one who did that in Great Britain wasn't an immigrant. The one who committed that madness was a British Englishman with an intellectual disability. He was on a trip to the zoo, grabbed a 3-year-old boy, and threw him into the crocodile pit. The crocodiles didn't even react. But he fell headfirst from a height of 4.5 meters. That's what seriously injured him. By the way, the wife of the zoo owner, whose name is Tracy, was a heroine because she saw what was happening. She jumped into the pit and pulled the boy out. But things are the way they are. And here what we don't accept is that what we say isn't true. If we make a mistake, sometimes we apologize. But in this case, it's not about an immigrant either. Just to clarify in case there are any doubts. Well, by the way, get ready because we're going to talk about Cuba, my dear friend. We're going to talk about Cuba, and honestly, I'm starting to get fed up because I wanted to go there this September, do a show, and now I see I'll have to postpone it because I wanted to take you, Zoe, and a team from the show.
But you're going to do it. But you're going to do the show.
Yes, but if I do it in September, maybe they'll put us in prison. Let's wait a little longer. Wait, we're going to Lima, to Peru. There's my dear Pilar Almagro. How are you, Pilar?
Hello, Alberto. Albert, hello, Saide, hello, Confidenciales. I'm doing very well here in Lima.
You're in the city with the most promising future, or one of the cities with the most promising future in Hispanic America. They tell me that's a driving force where there's a lot to do and almost everything is underway, right?
All of Peru. Peru has a bit of everything. I mean, it's even bigger than Colombia, and Colombia is already bigger than Spain and France put together. Peru is, well, wonderful.
It's wonderful. Well, the only bad thing is that there's a Sanchez. Just like in Spain, there's a Sanchez there too. And it caused people to take to the streets over the weekend in protests. Why? Well, because they see that Fujimori is going to win the elections if he hasn't already. It's a matter of hours, of days, before it's announced that she is the president of Peru. And that's it. The left never accepts democracy, right? Not easily.
Yes. In fact, she threatened. If the right wins, there will be massacres. Well, that's exactly what Antauro Humala said, who has distanced himself from this demonstration, which supported him. And he said that the loss in the second round was because of Sanchez, Roberto Sanchez, because he became lukewarm, so people would vote for him. And in the end, that lukewarmness didn't work either. It seems that Keiko Fujimori is going to win without any problems. she will probably be declared the winner. In July, I mean, but now the gap has widened. It's 44,000 votes, and that's thanks to the overseas vote. And yes, yesterday I was in downtown Lima, and there were still a lot of police on the streets and a lot of trouble because they don't accept it. That's right, Albert, they don't accept it.
What's wrong with the left side? Because this happens in any country, in Spain too. When they lose elections, and we'll see it here with Sanchez, I hope soon the streets will burn.
Well, socialism is an infantilizing ideology. It tells us that it treats us like little children and that we're all good and we all love each other and we'll have a dreamlike world. If that dreamlike world fails, then logically a child throws a tantrum when they don't get what they want. So it's the typical behavior, right? Socialist, communist, nothing about these people surprises me. The difference between those who are here and those who are in Cuba. For example, those who are in Cuba have gained absolute power by force, and so their tantrums turn into violence that can even cost lives. Here, well, they only go that far, which is also harmful because breaking a store window or even damaging a bank, which is an institution with resources, represents a significant amount of money, problems with insurance, a series of situations. That's because they keep chasing their dream. The other day, I have a bad habit of reading constitutions. I was reading the Chinese constitution, and so the Chinese say that they are not there yet. Their model is imperfect socialism.
Now,
meanwhile,
I'm starting to understand your Chinese origins little by little. I mean, seriously, if your hobby is reading Chinese stuff, you should see a professional. That's what I think.
I also read about the espionage law and other Chinese topics.
What a character. Well, in Colombia, the results came out early this morning, but everything points to De La Espriella winning. But I want to be cautious until everything is official. Do you get any news since you're closer in Peru, Pilar?
Yes, everything points to De La Espriella, but yes, he has won it seems, but we're waiting for confirmation. In Colombia, it's a matter of life or death, Albert. It's a matter of life or death. Look, they're covering up massacres. Massacres. Well, for example, did you hear about what happened on May 27th just recently? With 50 dead, 11 of them minors in San Jose de Guaviare, right? No, it's being hidden. 20 people killed by drones the other day by FARC dissidents in Coca. The ELN forbidding votes for De La Espriella and threatening the farmers to take away their land to take their children. Thousands of children have been taken by the guerrillas. Again, 71% of the municipalities are totally or partially controlled by the guerrillas. I'm a victim of this. I'll explain when things are clearer, but the judges there have stopped working. Nothing functions because they're being threatened. So that's why I say it's a matter of life or death. And Petro used to say his slogan was total peace. And these people too, Cepeda is on the side of life, but what kind of life and what total peace? I mean, it reminds me of Kant's total peace, who said when you're dead, you'll be in total peace, obviously, but in the meantime, we also want peace. That's how we are.
De La Espriella is a criminal lawyer. His party Patria, Defensores de la Patria, is only 1 year old. It's all very new. He's someone outside of politics. That's unusual. They call him the Tiger. It's true that he's a millionaire. He's been a lawyer for big tycoons. By the way, he was once the lawyer of Alex Saab, Maduro's frontman. To each their own. But he has a brilliant team by his side. He does things that aren't common in Colombia, for example, invoking God at rallies. He welcomes and admires Donald Trump. And there are many, and it's true, who say he resembles Bukele. He does look a bit like him, and he wants his way of doing things to be like Bukele's. That is to say, the guerrilla should get ready now, right? Because if everything is as it seems, this is the beginning of the end for the guerrilla in Colombia.
He's also a businessman, like you said, and he has a company, a rum company, a clothing company too, etc. And things always turn out pretty well for him. What I think is best about him is that he knows what he doesn't know, and that's a lot of wisdom. So as a vice presidential candidate, they have chosen Jose Manuel Restrepo, who was a minister, who is a great manager, who has been the rector of 2 universities. He's a very capable guy, and they didn't really know each other either. He searched throughout Colombia to find potential members for his presidential team, right? So if he were to fail, if he were killed or whatever, Restrepo would take over. Who is an economist and knows what he's talking about? The truth is that they're going to have a really hard time because, like you said, it's a good party that did exist, but it was as if it didn't exist and they brought it back to life. And of course, the parliamentary elections were in March and they only got 4 senators and 1 representative. Therefore, he has to govern with the support of the other parties, and we will depend on his sense of statesmanship and his generosity.
And meanwhile, Pilar in Peru is trying communism, socialism, taking to the streets in Colombia, about to give it up, but Petro is still in power. And what about Spain? Because their tentacles are still here, right?
Look, in Spain, what worries me the most is the issue of the demos. The demos in Greece was the people, but not just any people. It was the citizens who had the right to decide on public matters. They were the citizens who voted. What did they vote on? Who would govern? What's happening in Spain? It's being reversed. The government, that is Sanchez, is changing our demos. The number of people with the ability to decide about the government, that is, instead of people choosing their government, the government, that is Sanchez, is choosing its people, the people who will vote for him. This is extremely serious, insidious, and what's more, he's doing it little by little. Since he came to power in 2018, he has already naturalized 1,400,000 foreigners with Spanish nationality who now have the right to decide about Spain, about us. Just in 2024, for which we have data from Morocco, he naturalized 42,000 people, Venezuela, 35,000 Colombia, 26,000 Honduras, 15,000 and Peru and Ecuador, 10,000. What about these people? Well, and let's not even mention the grandchildren law, which has had 2.5 million applications. Let's see how many are going to become Spanish citizens without having the slightest idea about Spain or ever having set foot there. Now, plus all the massive regularizations, which for now don't vote in the national elections, but by 2027, I think they'll come up with some device so they can be naturalized and vote. This means changing the demos.
Basically, and changing the voter rolls. But look, regarding the grandchildren law, Pilar and Saide, I'm talking to you. The city where the most votes will come from because of the grandchildren law is Buenos Aires. But the next one is Havana. That is 1 out of every 7 requests to become Spanish to get citizenship comes from Cuba. And the only company authorized to handle the processing to provide it, the Palco Group, which belongs to the Cuban government like everything in Cuba and received it more than a year and a half ago. On January 1, 2025, more than €1 million to speed up the procedures. Spain hired 88 people to speed up the process. By the way, as always, Spain doesn't pay over $1 million to speed up the procedures and get people to vote for Sanchez. But the employees of this company get the crumbs, right? I mean, Saide, most of it stays with the company and the government, right?
Of course, slaves. They have people working as slaves. And we've already called out on this show the tricks that the Socialist Party uses with voters. The Spaniards who live in Cuba, they take them on an air-conditioned bus, give them a little snack, treat them very well so that they vote. For the PSOE, of course, this is starting to become a worrying issue. Although there are many of us who have regained our Spanish citizenship and would never vote for the PSOE, not even in our dreams. But you have to understand that in Cuba or Venezuela, countries like that, people have a somewhat distorted perspective, especially because of the reality they're living in and the coercion they suffer. I have no idea how this problem is going to be solved, but it's good that we're speaking out about it to see if someone will do something about it, because of course there is an intention here to change the legitimate result of the will of the people here from the peninsula through the back door, and obviously something needs to be done.
Yes, but Pilar, this isn't a coincidence. I mean, the fact that 1 out of every 7 is from Cuba is because it's easier to manipulate people there than in other countries, right?
I'm not sure about Cuba, but whoever defines the demos controls the outcome. And what has been studied is that out of all the naturalized citizens, according to polls, 30.5% vote for PSOE and only 18% for PP, and they don't even know about the other parties. So it's a democracy, but a democracy turned upside down. Instead of being a mechanism to control power, it's a democracy that reproduces power. That's what Sanchez is doing. That's why when they say he's a fool and so on, it's not true. He knows exactly what he needs to do to stay in power forever, and he's doing it. And here we are, oh, how foolish he is. No.
It's clear. It's important. There's a company in Cuba that I'm told runs everything, which is Geisa. It's the military conglomerate that rules Cuba. And it seems that the money for this also ends up there. And they're the ones in charge of doing that manipulation you mentioned, Saide. Do you know Geisa?
Well, I don't know Geisa internally, although at one point I did work for some of its companies and things like that, for some hotels that they owned through some entities. And of course, it's the center of Cuban life when it comes to economic control. They are the ones who run everything. They own the banks, they own the food stores, the clothing stores, the industries, everything. They are the real owners. And this goes back to the year 1980 something, when case number one was a case against a general with the last name Ochoa, who was accused of drug trafficking. As if in Cuba moving drugs without the boss's knowledge was possible. We all know the ties the party dictatorship had. A communist with the well-known drug trafficker Pablo Escobar, to the point that in Spain there are people who acted and worked for him in musical shows. Stories. This one would be interesting. Let's see if anyone ever has the courage to tell it. And as a result of this whole trial, power in Cuba passed into the hands of Raul Castro. We're talking about the year 80-something. Let's say that Fidel continued to hold political and symbolic power and all those things, but from that moment on, he had control of the island. We're talking about the 80s. Raul Castro had control of the island, and they started to institutionalize all these companies, all these matters. They are really the ones who, aside from the repressive system, are keeping Cubans in terrible conditions, because the priority of that company is to make money to enrich themselves. They keep the people with blackouts in bad situations and everything else that's going on. And we know
what's happening in Cuba is taking too long. And we hope that Donald Trump can speed things up, because the Cuban people can't take it anymore and we don't know what else to do. There are ETA members there, by the way, still sheltered by Castro's government, just like in Venezuela, where the worst ETA members are still protected by Delcy Rodriguez. Caque Minuesa caught the one who committed the murder. He killed Tomasi Valiente, if you remember. He shot him 3 times at close range while he was talking on the phone. This murderer of Tomasi Valiente, who was president of the Constitutional Court, killed him in 1996. Well, now he walks down the street calmly and goes to see his father. Caque caught him for OK Diario.
Good morning, John. How was the appointment? You just came from seeing your father, right? How's your father? Doesn't this make you feel empathy? The Tomasi Valiente family can't see their father, but you can. I'll let you, but after being with your father, because you've written letters, I'll give you the chance on camera to say something to the Tomasi Valiente family if you want. I'll let you, but the Tomasi Valiente family can't be with their father because you killed him. You haven't written letters, have you? Or were they just generic letters? Don't cover your face. We've already seen you. Yes, I've done something well. Who gave you that face shape? No, John Bienzobas, you killed Tomasi Valiente. You murdered in Getxo. You planted a car bomb. You were sentenced to 266 years, and you can see your father. What would you tell the Tomasi Valiente family? Don't you think it's time to say it was wrong? Or was it right to kill? Was it right to kill? If the PP governs with Vox, will you try to exterminate them too? You don't regret having killed Tomás y Valiente. What would you say to his family members? What would you say to them?
This kind of video to me seems like absolute justice, poetic justice. I don't know if it's human or divine, but it's justice. Because he was sentenced to 266 years, he served 27, which I know is a lot, but a human life is longer than that, right? And now the fact that he walks around in shorts, goes to see his family, drives his Citroen, and nobody recognizes him seems incredible to me. Pilar, it wouldn't have cost John Bienzobas much to say he's sorry, right? Just that I don't ask for more. I'm sorry, I apologize from here. They never do it. Because why?
They never do it. Well, maybe that's just my personal opinion. It's because they really don't feel it. Because when you really feel it and something like this happens to you, you start crying if you truly regret it. I mean, you take the opportunity, you apologize once more, and well, you start to cry. But all these people, like Saide said before, are very connected to each other, and I suppose they also have internal threats. Why? Escobar, whom you mentioned in relation to Cuba, let's remember that he was invited to Felipe Gonzalez's inauguration. Yes, he was invited, an honored guest, and anyone who wants to check can find it on the internet. They're all mixed together, it's a gigantic network, and I always want to remind everyone that Sanchez is the president of the Socialist International. That's why they're there. Their influence reaches everywhere and everyone. And well, yes, all the terrorist groups, the ones who kill people, the ones who kidnap, etc., are connected, and I think they have a code of honor. Cepeda's father, for example, who created the Communist Party, was killed by his own people years later. I mean, the moment you stray even a little from the doctrine of the time, which keeps changing, you're dead.
Speaking of Sanchez, take a look at this image, a shot from an event at the PSOE in Madrid. You see on the right, that's Reyes Maroto, and on the left, you see the Republican flag. At the PSOE in Madrid, they've removed the Spanish flag and put up the Republican flag every time they hold an event. And politicians like Reyes Maroto, who was a minister, go there. They hold the event without any problems. There's a plan that we're revealing here, and hopefully we can stop it. A plan to keep Sanchez in power until 2031. In that year, 100 years since the Second Republic, the centenary. And of course, nothing would please Sanchez more than being presented as the president of the Third Republic. It seems that in Madrid, they've already advanced the plan. They're already ahead with these kinds of little flags. Well, you see this one a lot in Catalonia. What you don't see much there is the real Spanish flag, right, Saide?
Well, that's why I always walk around the streets of Barcelona with my bracelet and my cross of Burgundy. Well,
how are they going to treat you? How are they going to treat you? Get ready.
They don't say anything to me anymore. Look, on a September 11th, I had the dangerous idea of wearing the Spanish flag like Superman, you know? And going from Barceloneta to Paseo de Gracia with the flag. I got on the subway and all that, and people were confronting me. I kept confronting people. Look, I already lost one homeland, and I'm not going to lose the second homeland that has given me the opportunity to be a citizen of this kingdom. I'm not going to lose it, and I fight tooth and nail. That's why I remain so confident, despite the storm clouds and everything, that this is going to get back on track. We never imagined we would see Zapatero standing trial. We're going to see all of them, and they're all going to pay. The thing is, the climb is tough, it's painful, it's hard, and there's a saying that goes, the drunk thinks one thing and the bartender thinks another. Let them go on with their plan to dance. To reach Spain, and those of us who love and defend this country and who have taken on the responsibility, because I didn't take the passport out of convenience, I took it. I even went to the military barracks to swear allegiance to the flag, which I didn't have to do, but I went to swear allegiance to the flag. Very well. In addition to me taking on my responsibility and my loyalty to the king, even though the king has his own issues, and loyalty to Spanish laws. And we are going to be here until the very last moment fighting so that Spain does not fall, because Spain is very important, not only for Europe, but also for Hispanic America. And if Spain falls, it's something that I don't even know how we would be able to fix. And Spain, as even the Pope said in his speech in Congress, is the moral reference for what comes next. Human rights came from here, and a series of other things came from here through Francisco de Vitoria and the School of Salamanca, which, by the way, just turned 500 years old 2 days ago, and we have to defend all of that tooth and nail. I have been doing so since 2017. You can look on social media for Cubans facing separatists, and that day they could have killed me. All right, I decided that Spain had already given me the years of life it had to give me, and from now on, I was willing to do whatever I had to do to protect my homeland, because Spain is my home. It's also the home of all Hispanics, so the only thing, as I always say, don't be afraid, be brave. Maybe you think you can't do anything, but something as simple as watching Castillon's show, giving a like, commenting, I like all of that. That helps, just like Pilar's channel, which is an amazing channel to sharpen the mind and develop ideas. And for people to realize that these people aren't idiots, but that they're always working behind the scenes like society's fixers. And that we have to be strong to defend Spain, to carry the Spanish flag and the homeland. It's not about fashion or any of those things. That's the real deal.
I really liked your phrase, I've already lost one homeland and I don't plan on losing another. I think it sums up very well what we think. With people like Saidi and Pilar, we're making progress, we're on the right track. I want you to listen to what they say about Begoña and her passport being taken away. The people from Los Confidenciales, Diego, Maria, and Marcelo.
Begoña, I'm proud of the precautionary measures taken by Judge Juan Carlos Peinado against Begoña Gómez. The judge acted as he should have towards a Spanish citizen. Afterwards, we already knew what the reaction of the Socialist Party, the Moncloa Palace, etc. would be.
I was thinking about Begoña. She should go to jail because Spain deserves it. Let justice be seen, let it be clear that criminals have to pay in some way. And Sanchez is not going to let her go. I don't know how they're going to do it, how they're going to manage it. I don't know if maybe one of these jurors won't dare to convict her.
There's this idea or argument going around that it's because they feared even the police protecting Begoña Gómez might help her escape. It's very likely, or at least it seems to me, that there was a tip-off to Judge Peinado warning him that they were planning to do that during the 5 weeks of vacation.
Friends, more from German in Houston. The name of Zapatero's daughter's company, What the Fab, isn't exactly the literal translation of what it means. Houston.
When here in the United States people say, what the fuck, it's not spelled F-A-B, it's spelled F-U-C-K. And it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's something like that. An expression like saying, what are you talking about?
I mean, Pilar, remember this. Zapatero's daughters start a company called Are You Kidding Me? Is that it? It's incredible. Have you seen these girls? Do you think they have a bright future? Would you hire them for your company?
Well, not them, not their father, and not almost anyone in Congress now or in recent years. Before, yes, politicians used to have their own professional lives, and when they got into politics, they would spend some time there and then go back to their own fields, right? And they could be a great doctor, a great jurist, and so on. But today, there are many people governing us who haven't seen anything else. Zapatero only taught 4 university classes, and that was his only regular experience before entering politics. And that's our problem. These girls will just think they didn't even know what their father was doing to them. But anyway, they're not girls anymore. I think they're almost 40 years old now, right? Around there?
Early 30s, 31 and 32, I think. Yeah, well.
Well, then we still don't know.
They're not girls. They're not girls.
But anyway.
Of course, but they're not 20. About Zapatero, Michelle, Rosa, Pilar, Elena, Maria, and Jose Angel.
We must never lose sight of when, how, why, and for what purpose Zapatitos entered the government of Spain. The idea was to create not only a change of government, but also a change of regime. Let's remember that the person in question is a 33rd degree Mason. I think no one with half a brain can believe that people like Zapatitos or Sanchez himself are acting alone. They have powerful entities behind them,
After seeing what happened with Zapatero, I honestly think Spain is beyond saving. I mean, these people do whatever they want, they get away with it, and there's no one who can stand up to them. The only one is Vox, but they only have 33 seats.
Public officials, former public officials, their wives and other people who are paid by the state, who have received money and represent the Spanish nation abroad, the law should be much tougher on them. It's not the same for an ordinary Spaniard to divert funds or have accounts abroad as it is for a former prime minister to do it.
A guy capable of getting rid of, how many tons was it? The trains from the March 11th attacks. He's capable of anything with that dumb angel face he puts on.
With this whole thing about Zapatero's jewelry and Sanchez saying it's very normal for presidents to receive gifts, I'm wondering, where are the jewels that have been given to Sanchez and Begoña? Where are their gifts? Where are they hiding them?
Zapatero has been ethically criticized for involving his two daughters in his messes. And that's because we see the issue as ordinary citizens, right? Zapatero's daughters are or were the heirs of the clan.
Science cited, there are no victims here, only executioners. And I'm outraged that they're outraged because their own are judged like any other citizen. Not the brother, not the wife, not Cerdan, not Abalos, not Coldo. They think they can't be judged like you, me, or Pilar. They are an untouchable caste. How dare they take away the president's wife's passport? But they actually say this. In every forum, all the ministers, and they're going after Peinado, and the campaign is going to be brutal. I'm sick of there being one kind of justice for them and another for mortals like us, who get in serious trouble if we forget a single invoice from our VAT return.
Well, we're back to what I was saying at the beginning. Communism is an infantilizing ideology. And so it also makes them believe that they're above good and evil and that everything they do is right, even if, according to our view and our moral perspective, it's an immoral act, an illegal act, murder, whatever it may be. Not for them, because their way of thinking justifies them. They have a sort of aura of superiority that makes them believe they can do anything. Thank God justice in this country still stands strong and is teaching them that it's not like that they are mortal and citizens just like us.
It's incredible. If you go out now and ask people on the street, do you think Begoña Gómez will go to jail or the brother will go to jail? No one says yes, Pilar. We've already accepted the scam, haven't we?
Of course. It's a crisis of values deep down. Our values, the values of Western civilization, come from ancient Greece. And Aristotle was already writing that the weight of the law should fall more harshly on those who make those laws, on those who govern others. And here we are talking about police, that the same should happen to them as to the person who maybe barely knows how to read and write. Just look at how much we've degraded the issue.
Totally, absolutely. Well, moreover, there's a tweet. They tell me that the PSOE has deleted it, but I'm told they posted it the other day during the Morocco World Cup. They score a goal and the official PSOE account posts this tweet. Goal very long, let's go Morocco, cheering for Morocco. Hey, seriously, why doesn't the PSOE just go work with Mohammed VI over there and close their offices in Spain? We'd all be much happier. And then here on Saturday, we had a special interview with the writer and journalist Eduardo Garcia Serrano. You know, he's controversial, he doesn't hold back. And when I asked him what we should do to defend the rule of law in Spain, he said this.
There's no other choice but to fight in the streets and accept all the consequences. Is that the only way to put an end to it? Through a counter-revolutionary process with everything that entails.
They are provoking many reactions. For example, Maria Teresa from Uruguay and Guerrero from Spain.
To mention that Mr. Eduardo Garcia Serrano's speech was truly excellent, crystal clear, a strong delivery that implies a lot of courage. Is what he says right with peaceful demonstrations?
I completely agree with Mr. Eduardo Garcia Serrano in his statements that there is no other way out than to take to the streets and protest, whatever the consequences. But of course, this raises a problem because here the leaders are not focused on what Spain is.
Let's see. Yes or no? I mean, Saide, to take to the streets, whatever the consequences, not just a demonstration every 3 months, but something permanent, forceful, and lasting. Do you see that as possible?
Man, I think that if the time comes and it has to be done, of course, we have to be there. We have to be out in the streets. I mean, everyone has to see it. Just yesterday, I was talking, you might say, what does this have to do with it, right? Yesterday, I was talking to a girl from Iran and she told me, all of Spain supports the Ayatollahs. And I told her, no, that's not true. No, but the government does. The government supports the Ayatollahs, but the Spanish people, a large part of the Spanish people, do not support the Ayatollahs, do not support whipping a young woman or any of that, none of those things. So when the time comes, I believe that justice is going to act in an impressive way. You can't imagine how justice is going to act against these people. First of all, as a matter of survival. Also, I believe that Spain is going to be much stronger after all of this, after this whole storm. But if the time comes, if the circumstances arise, of course, to all the government subdelegations, to Moncloa, wherever it may be, to be there until those people leave. It won't be the first time that the people have taken to the streets to remove a ruler. Then with the consequences, what happens is that people don't want that issue, right? Who steps up, who shows their face, and
who puts their body on the line? I'm willing, but who else? So what do you think, Pilar?
Well, there are people who are already doing it. The Ferrat movement has been out on the streets for more than 700 days every single day, every day. With the Valley of the Fallen as well, at the demonstration last month when we were in Madrid. I was there for a little while holding the banner with Daniel Lacal, and I asked him this very thing. And he said, you have to do everything all the time. Everything all the time. Exactly. Whatever it takes, and we have to take risks? Yes. Just like Ada said earlier, I've already lost one nationality. I fight for Spain and I'd give my life for Canada. That's something like what you said, right? Saide, so whatever happens from now on, we just have to take the risk. We have to be brave and generous, like my father used to say. Brave, it's inexcusable.
Friends, let's go to the newsroom. Latest messages. Susana Gas, tell me.
Here we are, Albert, in the newsroom of Castilla Castellón Confidential, because we are receiving so many messages and so many opinions regarding the sudden event that happened this Saturday when Judge Peinado withdrew Begoña Gómez's passport. There are many people sharing their opinions with us. For example, Patricia says it's a relief that some justice is being done. Antonio says it was about time Judge Peinado made a decision. In this case, Rocio also says the Spanish Bonnie and Clyde are moving forward, but both hand in hand. Trujillo says that there is justice with honest judges. Obviously, all my support goes to Judge Peinado. Sanchez goes from being a danger to being very dangerous for the country. Regarding the interview you had with Eduardo Garcia Serrano on Saturday, there are also many people who share their opinions, congratulate you on the interview, and say that Mr. Eduardo Garcia Serrano speaks some blunt truths. In this case, Isabel calls things what they are. We really like the way she speaks. Changing the subject, Paola says how passive Spain is, right? It's impressive. With a king who has no character, not going out into the streets, no character, not going out into the streets. What's happening to us? What can we do? How much longer do we have to live with this man? Victoria says the PSOE tried to clean up its image but failed. I'm very worried that in the situation he's leaving the country in, what he's managed to do is sink his own ship and also the ship we're all on. I don't understand how people who know more about politics than I do defend them with all the corruption that's coming to light. Just because the government is right-wing, they vote for them. I think it's the height of absurdity. And also, Javier Fernandez says that Peinado is an unshakable judge. We'll leave it here, Albert, but it's really important that you keep following us on all our channels and also on all our social networks, on Instagram, on X, and also on TikTok. Thank you so much, Albert.
Thank you very much. Now, look, Saide and I are men, and I want to ask you a question, Pilar, as the woman on the team. The government, Sarah Agenson, the minister, she just organized a conference this week on petromasculinity. And it's not Gustavo Petro's masculinity, no. It's a conference where they link machismo-related habits with the use of fossil fuels, gasoline, and diesel. During the conference, someone called Cara de Jet joins in via video call. She must be very expensive. She's a political science professor in Virginia who claims that white patriarchal dominance, no, not you, Saeed, me, yes, it is caused by the use of gasoline and diesel in cars. And it is subsidized by the government of Spain and presented by Sarah Agensen. Had you realized this, that gasoline and diesel make us more sexist? For white people, for Saide, no.
Well, it's kind of in line with what Petro says. Look, they have the same name, but Petro says that Colombians don't have to consume gas. Come on, what are we supposed to cook the omelet with? I don't know what. With the sun, sorry, with the sun.
With the sun, yes.
That's right, but notice that, for example, in La Guajira, it's full of wind turbines on the ground because they just haven't bothered to make the connection between those potential wind farms, which are already there just waiting to be set up and everything, and the cities. So basically, they're not doing anything to use the sun or the wind either. But anyway, he says that gas can be used. God, he has ruined Ecopetrol, he has sunk it into misery, etc. I mean, it's all just diluting the West. They don't want economic growth, they don't want economic well-being, and they use feminism as a diluting factor. And I think that right now, men are becoming more and more important. Men in their role as men, as protectors of the family. A woman is going to have a baby, and at that moment, she is vulnerable. She and the baby are vulnerable and need men's care. Men have their role. And I see many new families who have their first baby, and that's when the woman is left helpless, sad, and saying, is this really the man I married? He just goes off to play around. I mean, no, the man is absolutely fundamental, and that's what they're attacking. And I am very, very happy and very honored to be able to be on this show with both of you, who are two heroic men.
Oh my, thank you. You've moved me. Well, when I start the car from now on, I'll feel guilty because of petro-masculinity. Not you, Saida. You're so lucky, man. I'm so envious.
I've already lost, wait a moment, because of my ideas, I've already lost my blackness. Because I have white ideas, careful, because things are, well...
For them, for sure. For them, you're already a dangerous white man, for sure.
Yes, totally.
Well, friends, it's a pleasure to have you here. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. Let's see if the next time I talk to you, Pilar de la Espriella has won and Keiko Fujimori has won. And the next time I talk to you, Saide, let's hope someone goes into Cuba, takes out the Castros, and sends them to a prison in Brooklyn. Let's see if we witness that. Hopefully.
Of course we'll see it, but there's one quick thing I want to tell you. For those who are writing to me, those who believe that Cuba has moved to capitalism and are even presenting it as an economic miracle, that's a lie. Please read the 2019 Constitution Articles 1, 5, 6, 22, and 30. It clearly says there that Cuba is a socialist country and that private property is limited to certain sectors and that property is socialist. So don't be fooled. There are no reforms. It's all a lie.
My friend, a big hug. Thank you for telling the truth. A kiss to both of you. Take good care of yourselves. Goodbye, dear ones.
Goodbye. Well,
here on the program is Susana Gas, and she's teamed up with a great woman whom I know you all like very much, and that's Alicia Bodalo. In the programs, Susana and Alicia have managed to touch consciences and learn what's happening in Spain while having a good time. Both of them are waiting for us in a minute. Are you listening? We are Castillon Confidential.
The price of gold is reaching historic records. Those pieces of jewelry you no longer wear could solve many of your financial problems. But how can you trust where to go? Castillon Confidential has been buying jewelry, diamonds, gold, and top watch brands like Cartier from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s for 36 years. And they always offer the highest appraisal. They have 6 stores in Cadiz, and the main office is in Madrid at 7 Arenal Street. Don't get confused. Number 7 brings good luck. On the first floor, right next to Puerta del Sol. They don't close at midday. No one is going to pay you more. If you want to talk to Javier, call him on our behalf at 91 593 0491 593 9,159,304.91. Completely trustworthy.
Friends, for many months now, there has been a couple who have become incredibly popular on social media. People ask me about them every day. But Josue Cardenas from Periodista Digital is also being asked because Susana Gask is here on the show, and Josue is joined by the great Alicia Bodalo, that duo of Susana and Alicia that began by chance. One day, it became a duo that thousands and thousands of people look forward to every week to hear the news from each of their perspectives. It's like a circus game. He's the clown with the white face paint and the troublemaker, because there's a real troublemaker here, folks, who's able to say what you all are thinking better than anyone. Today, I have the pleasure of having Susana Gask, and I don't even need to introduce her anymore. She has gone to her set. Welcome, Susana. How are you?
How are you? It's a pleasure to be here with you. It feels so strange to me.
You just told me in the newsroom you spend the whole day greeting people, please. Yes.
Because you and I don't see each other. We only see each other from set to set.
That's true. Less and less each time, of course. Well, the star, ladies and gentlemen, is Alicia Bodalo. Dear Alicia, how are you?
Great. With you all? Always great. Well, the stars are both of us, Susana and me, both of us.
Hey, when did this craziness start? What happened? Where's the chemistry, Alicia? What's going on that people are talking about you two everywhere?
Yes. Well, look, I met Susana at Multicanal Radio. Do you remember? With Enrique. And since then, I mean, it was just like, hi, I'm Susana. Hi, I'm Alicia. And I said, I love this woman. I mean, I love her. And well, I got along with her amazingly. We had incredible chemistry. And one day she invited me to one of her shows. I had an amazing time. She's a true professional. And the day she called me to do one of these, I thought about it. And, you know, I felt so great that she said, Ali, we've had a lot of success. Let's do another one. I said, sure. And here we are today.
And here we are today. Here we are today.
And whatever it takes.
But do you two also get along well in private, Susana? Do you confide in each other? Yes.
No, yes. Well, it's essential to get along, because when you don't get along with someone, you don't even want to introduce them. I mean, no matter how good the information is or how well she reports. I mean, the good vibes we show on the program are the ones we really have, even though we don't see each other because everything is online. But soon we'll have a little surprise to share.
Well, tell me about it now. I want them to see what they're capable of or how they start, because when it's time to start, everyone's already waiting for the Guia C. Listen to how these two start their shows every week on the channel Confesiones Confidenciales, Susana Gask's channel.
Sister of the Zapatero. Today I am Esmeralda Ruiz. We call her Esmeralda Ruiz Santracuta. Esmeralda Ruiz, because even though she's a bit silly, she managed to become president of Spain. It's just that I'm going to a PSOE picnic, because I'm going to a PSOE picnic and Sanchez is really, really scared because that flash drive has some really big stuff, things he won't be able to get away from.
She goes there and says, well, let's not ramble on. Vito,
go get Sarah. Vito, go get Sarah.
Look at this amazing photo I have of this man, the new Ayatollah. But you know how disgusting it is?
Yes, I can tell you. Our new Spanish Ayatollah is called Mestaza al-Botar. Mestaza al-Botar? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Formerly known as Pedro Sanchez, today the new Ayatollah of Spain is called Mestaza al-Botar.
Well?
Those are well.
This is just crazy.
Alicia, that was a hat with penises on it.
Exactly, yes, of mini penises.
What is a hat with penises on it?
Mini penises, of course, because I was going to a PSOE rally and there are a lot of aggressors there, so they could get excited about the mini penises. Of course, of course.
But come on, Alicia, don't you have any limits?
No, come on.
Until someone beats me up or shoots me, I'm going to keep talking. I mean, I'm very clear about that. You know what happens?
Albert, you know what happens? The advantage we have is that YouTube doesn't kick us off, which maybe could play a dirty trick on us. In fact, what Alicia says, the vocabulary Alicia uses, that's the real one. The one where you're in line at the bakery and you're saying, it's the government, it's this or that. I'm not saying it because of what's happening here, but she conveys that. What's going on? The people who watch us every week say, wow, what Alicia says is true. That's what I think too. So it's that game of saying, let's inform and update everything that's happening, but in a street level version, from a critical perspective, in other words, a way of informing.
Susana, you can't imagine, I'm telling you the truth. The number of people who write to me, the number of people who stop me on the street, who have stopped me on the bus, in the supermarket, everywhere. And they say to me, but dear, how can you be so brave? Because I think the same as you, but I don't dare to say it. And of course I say, well, it makes me really sad that in 2026 we can say, I'm afraid to speak in my own country.
I agree.
And one day a man, but let's see, maybe I do go too far because sometimes I think I do. And the man says to me, what? You hold back? I said, but what is he saying? The nicest thing I've called him is son of, with more, much more. So just imagine.
I used to admire your father so much as one of the best actors in the history of Spain. What would he think if he could see both of you today?
Well, I think my father would have a meltdown because he'd say, oh my God, I have to get my daughter a bodyguard. Since I don't have 12 bodyguards like Santontala, he'd obviously have to do it.
Of course, Santontala. One of these days you'll bring her to the show and know.
It's just that she could end up bald and I could go straight to court or to jail, one of the two. I don't think any character has ever disgusted me more, and there have been plenty to choose from in all of history than this woman. Because of her shamelessness and the way things are, we have to put up with the lifestyle she leads just because she's the government's little pet.
Do you realize that part of your taxes pay her salary on Spanish television and on many other channels? And the bodyguards?
Of course, that's why. I have a stomach ulcer from all this that will have to come out against her someday. Anyway, I'm absolutely sure about it. And that we have to watch. You know what? What makes me the angriest when I see it is that this girl has risen like the most disgusting moments of Spanish machismo. To this, I'm Pajares, which I don't mean they weren't good actors, but it was a time, I'm Pajares. The movies were, yes, they were very funny, whatever you want, but it was a brutal sexism, and there was a lot of talk about women using sex to get ahead, and men did too. And I say, well, there will always be someone who does that, but that's gradually becoming a thing of the past. And of course, seeing someone like this who talks so much about feminism and is the first to use that old-fashioned machismo, well, it really bothers me, of course.
Yes. That's your goal, right, Susana? Although you have many, because, Susana, you aim for everything, the Prime Minister's office, a ministry. Well,
it's basically political and social information because we're also interested in that. We have a lot of people who keep sending us reports, and obviously we also try to help and above all to resolve them. We have an amazing audience, and also they have opinions about everything and have no hang-ups. And we tell them, hey, if you need to say any insults, write to us because it really reflects how we feel. What we can't say, you can say, right?
I'm going to confess to you, you already know this, Bodolo, but I'm going to confess it to everyone. Susana Gask here, who you see as so refined and delicate and so proper. Oh, when the microphone is off, she says some swear words that can't be repeated. Come on, she makes Alicia Bodolo look like Sister Alicia.
Don't ask her for I subscribe. I totally agree.
But how can you say that?
No, it's just that I was shocked one day. I don't know if I can tell this, because every time we finish recording, we talk a little about our own stuff. I ask her, and what about me? And one day, suddenly, I'm like this, and she says to me, wait a moment, I think the mic, and she does this and says, can I say it? It's a swear word, can I say it? And she says, damn this fucking shitty mic. And I just stand there like, excuse me, Susana, I'm right here. And she says to me, well, it's just that I'm really vulgar, much worse than you. But of course, in front of people, I act all classy. And me, what do I care?
This never gets told, and I'm really mad at you all because of it. This intimacy, no.
We need to start figuring out here who is who. By the way, you're about to reach 20,000 subscribers. And I know very well that you gave her the idea that if we reach 20,000, we have to do something. So, Susana, what do we do?
Well, mainly to encourage everyone who watches us, it's very important that they watch the channel in general because, well, we do a lot of things, not just with Alicia, but we do many things. And if we obviously reach 20,000, which I think we can achieve with your help, Alicia and I want to have a dinner with everyone who wants to come. Something intimate, something to talk about politics, to talk about social issues, to see how everyone sees the world, but as if it were something very, very secret. So, okay.
All right. In Madrid?
In Madrid.
All right. If they reach 20,000 subscribers, they have a little over 1,000 left. That's quite a lot.
Only?
Well, you think it's not much, but it's a lot. Over 1,000. Yes. Confidential Confessions, that's the name of the channel. Confidential Confessions. And if the promise is kept, I can't imagine a dinner with both of them. Come on, she could laugh from the first course to dessert.
You're invited too.
Well, of course.
We won't make you pay.
Thank you very much. Very kind. Sometimes very Catalan. Well,
after what you told me, it's the least I can say.
Alicia, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I really wanted to have you on the show, but Susana forbids me because she says you're taking my guests. So I had to come up with this excuse to spend a little time with you.
Oh my goodness, I was so eager for you to interview me, honestly.
Thank you for being who you are.
No, thank you.
Don't change.
And thank you, and never change either, because we need more people like you in this country.
Well, yes, no government will ever subsidize us or sponsor us or put us on Channel 1, but we're happy, and above all, we're free. And that's something we really value.
Your authenticity is what matters?
We're Bodolo, part of the family.
That's great, such pride.
Kisses, darling.
We have to keep going, and I want to take advantage of the fact that there are a lot of people who are also following us. Hey, there are a lot of your viewers who are following us too.
I don't know, no, yes.
Yes, that's right.
They like it because it's a different vibe, another way of understanding life. And well, they follow us, and we're truly very grateful for that, really. And we need the 20,000 to have that secret dinner to rip into the government.
You're already starting to talk trash. Honestly, the introduction is amazing. Well, Alicia Bordalo, I love you.
Big kisses to everyone. I love you both.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thanks a million. Yes.
Scam alert. Jose Maria warns us you receive a text message saying you need to renew your health card before the end of the year 2026. Well, don't even think about it. Don't click on anything you receive through strange text messages because it's a scam. They take your data, they steal it. Look, I'm telling you this because I've been scammed several times, but that's exactly why it's good for us to repeat it. Thank you very much, Jose Maria. Useful information. Well, and I really liked what Marucci sent me, my Marucci and Giulini. This scene of Sanchez and Zapatero almost kissing is real. It happened at the end of a rally, and he says, congratulations. They say congratulations to each other. We are the first prime ministers with the whole family under investigation. Congratulations. Congratulations. That's it. Both break the record. Thank you both very much for sending it. Well, and Zapatero's daughters have a lot of artificial intelligence. They have little natural intelligence. Freud Lannister. Pete.
I mean, we've been charged, girl.
Yeah, girl.
Damn, girl, that's bad. Gertrude, girl, you've been charged too. Could you, serve our sentences for us, please? No.
No.
Look, poor Gertrude. She's making a face like she would, girl. I'm sure they talk like that, no doubt about it. I mean, yeah, very socialist, very progressive. Well, Sanchez at the press conference, Freud Lannister, well.
Welcome, dear press bootlickers. I'm here for questions from journalists we absolutely haven't pre-selected. Go ahead, you from Tele Pedro, Spanish television.
President, if you can't get the budget approved, will you call for elections?
If I couldn't get the budget approved, I might have to call early elections.
But then, why haven't you called elections in these past 3 years?
What did you say or mean?
If you didn't present the budgets in the past 3 years, it's because they wouldn't have been approved. If I had Congress's approval, I would have done it. So they've been rejected for 3 years. Shouldn't you have called elections when you first couldn't get them passed?
That's a very interesting point. I'm going to answer you clearly.
What do you mean by that, Mr. Sanchez?
He's calling the security team.
No, what are you doing? Help! Help! No, Mr. President, I was just asking. I take back the question. Don't take me.
But who was that idiot? How could you have let him ask a question?
That's how press conferences are, at Moncloa or in the Congress of Deputies. Yes, gentlemen, the plain truth. Freud Lannister, a genius. Well, and to finish, Cooley knows I like action figures. And the Zapatero the Jeweler action figure has come out. Take a look.
The collectible Zapatero the Jeweler action figure has arrived. Play with him and keep his jewels from being found. Wow!
How brilliant.
It includes his safe to store the loot. There are many different jewels. Collect them all. Only for 29.99 euros. You, 29.99 euros.
It includes his safe to store the loot. This doll is pure PSOE. Friends, more tomorrow with lots of updates. We'll finally know for sure, I hope, that La Espriella has won in Colombia. And many more things about Judge Peinado. Get ready, prepare yourselves. I'll be waiting here in the trench.
You know it and I know it. We are confidential. You are confidential. I am confidential. Everyone is confidential. Everyone is confidential. But shh, only for open minds and for people who are paying attention. From the trench, the bullets whistle and there's no way to get out there. Here, freedom has wings of wax. Albert Castellon, Susana Gash. You girls, nor I. No. The rest. Thanks. See you tomorrow at... Thank you.
Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillon.